Hi, we're Bob and Wendy, and we live in San Luis Obispo, and we'd like to perform one of our favorite songs for you. It goes like this.
California, here I come, right back where I started from. The flowers bloom in the sun. Each morning at dawning, bird is singing everything a sun-kissed miss said, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up that golden gate, California, here I come.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Huell's Gold. My name is Allan.
And I'm Chris.
And this is all Huell all the time.
This is the podcast about Huell Hauser and California's gold.
So I'm really happy to get to this particular episode.
Yeah.
Because the Central Coast, I don't know about you, but it's my favorite place in California.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
I mean, partial because of where we're from.
Yeah, the Central Coast is definitely a place that people from Bakersfield, like us, go to on vacation fairly regularly.
Would you
so
say
close?
Well, would you say, did you know a lot of people that went to Ventura instead? Because the distance is about
No.
the same.
No.
No?
Maybe, well, I don't
There's
know.
some
Maybe just because I
surfers,
never
but-
went there until I was older. But, yeah, I remember going there most years of my childhood and, like, seeing people from school. And it was just Bakersfield's beach, basically,
Yeah.
I guess. But this episode is going to be about some maybe lesser-known aspects of the Central Coast. I didn't know about all three of these places that Huell visited.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't know anything about the saloon. Is that what you would?
Yeah, the Pozo Salloon.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to the Mission. I think everyone has. If you walk far enough west, in
Yeah.
from downtown San Luis,
Exactly.
you just run right into it. So
In fact,
That's-
Huell kind of gets into that in a later episode of the Mission series, because this is San Luis Obispo Mission is how the cold open of this episode starts. Huell's walking down the steps of the Mission, and from there we get to Bob and Wendy, who are doing the theme this week, and we didn't get a last name on them. If anyone by chance knows who Bob and Wendy are, we want to get their full names, and if we could talk to them, because they seem like interesting folks.
yeah.
For sure. That's a crazy guitar he's got. I don't know. I don't think it's a guitar. She's playing a guitar. But I like this this intro.
Yeah.
It's more folksy than last week's. Last week's was the brass band. Yeah,
Yeah, it's fun.
because we've both been to this Mission before. Not together, but in separate trips.
No? Maybe. Separate.
It was
Well,
separate.
I think I've taken 2 anniversary pictures on those steps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just asking a random person to snap a pic. So this jacket Huell has on,
Yeah, the yellow. This is the same yellow jacket from last week, right?
looking familiar, yeah.
The what I called the potential fish dick man jacket, which really it's like this is a hip look even now. Like if you saw this Land's End, I think it's a Land's
Yeah.
End jacket over the sweater, popping up the top. This is a good look.
I like it. You think it was filmed on the same
Same road trip
maybe
that
some
they
road
did.
trip or something? Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
'cause-
just a go-to for
It could be, but I think that there definitely was probably, since the episodes are so close from 201, the living history, Fort Ross whole episode of last week to this week, it's got to be the same trip. It's just
Yeah.
right on down the coast.
Yeah. I think too, so last episode you wanted, well, you didn't want me to. You had given me, Louis, take a look at this.
I demanded.
You demanded it. And so I hammered through it in 2 days.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting parts, to me at least, about the book, in reference to this episode, or really the first 2 episodes, well, Louis says that he thinks that Huell was heavily influenced by his video log days.
Yeah, because those are like
Just
shorter single segments.
yeah,
like that they used in between different shows on KCET.
Yeah, and so one of the interesting parts, he was saying that it could have been the case that he did sort of multiple segments in each episode instead of doing one segment, because he maybe thought he lacked the confidence in holding the audience's attention, or, which is the more charitable way, is that there were so many things about California that were interesting that Huell just wanted to show them all.
Yeah, he proved later that a single subject episode would hold people's attention. I'll speak for myself. Held my attention.
Yeah. Well, the first episode, it's sort of, I mean, you're going all over the place. I mean, you're in a general region.
Yeah.
But there's at least some commonality where, okay, you're in San Luis, but there's really no theme to it. It's just kind of...
It's basically just places around San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, yeah. And it wasn't until I think it was the third episode he mentions in his book that he has a common theme.
Yeah.
In the area, but
okay,
it's sort of something interesting about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this motel in the first segment, do you know anything about it?
Quite a lot. But let's let Huell break it down first, and then I'll get into it.
Built in 1925 and located right on the side of Old Highway 1, this motel with its Spanish-style architecture became a popular stopping place for motorists traveling between L.A. and San Francisco. Today, the original buildings still stand. The ivy-covered arches, the stately tower, and the freestanding bungalows, showing their age, but in a graceful way. By now, you may be wondering, why all the fuss? What is so special about this place? Well, what's so special is that this was the first motel in the world. This is where the word motel was born.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about this motel.
Well, we kind of spoiled it a bit during episode 0. We talked about how I had visited this motel and that it's no more. Mm-hmm. And that trip that I went on was it was just a little vacation with the wife to go to the Apple Farm Inn, which is a boutique hotel kind of place that's now currently on the grounds adjacent to where the Motel Inn was.
Did it live up to all your expectations?
Well, actually, my wife Erin is right here next to me, and she's going to talk a little bit about it too. And because she was with me on that trip, and she saw how. What would you say? Do you think I was a little bummed out, a little devastated to see this dirt lot that once was this grand motel?
I would say that devastated is a good way to describe it. Yeah, I have some pictures of you sadly standing in front of what was the first motel in California or in the United States, right?
Yeah, it was the first one because there was that plaque that they show in the episode. That plaque's still there because of the buildings that you see in the episode here, the only ones that still exist are the main kind of lobby office type building and the big sign. And the office building is the one that had that plaque on it, which I'll be posting the pictures that you took of me sadly in front of this
depressing structure.
I wouldn't even call it a structure. There's not much left to it. They even filled in the pool that you see in the episode.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was flipping through to the pictures that you sent me. I can tell you're sad the way you took the picture.
Oh, really?
It's just sort of, you just took it and you sent it. There was nothing.
No, I didn't even
cool
warn you ahead of time?
No, and you sent me some sort of picture. What is this license plate?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool. But
yeah, there's still like a truck on premises of the Apple Farm Inn that had the license plate that's a vanity plate that says Motel Inn. I wonder how old that is.
Yeah. Who knows?
So I felt sad, but did you feel a sense of sadness seeing this? Because you hadn't seen the episode, right?
I think you had talked it up to me, so I was expecting to see some historical-looking motel that we might be able to get closer to than just standing outside of a chain link fence right outside of the motel. So it looked a little depressing, I would say.
Yeah, especially because we were there at the Apple Farm Inn, which is pretty, I would call it a quaint place, because they decorate their entire facility very festively during Christmas time, and that's where we were there, right?
Right.
And it just so, because, I follow the Apple Farm Inn on Instagram and saw the same pictures that you did, the Christmas pictures, and we just wanted to go, and then I put it together, the Apple Farm Inn, that's where the Motel Inn was.
Okay, so overall, how would you rate the Apple Farm Inn?
I really liked the Apple Farm Inn. It definitely lived up to the Christmas hype that I saw on there, because that was like the beginning of our whole Christmas season time on there, and it did it up right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a nice way to kick off the Christmas season that we had. The decorations were really nice. I was really psyched to see all that. We enjoyed our stay and ate at the restaurant. The gift shop had a lot of Christmas stuff in it. So while we were a bit depressed to see the dilapidated Motor Inn, we did enjoy our stay at the Apple Farm Inn anyway.
Yep, sure did.
So the Motor Inn, what's the significance?
Well, Betty Grau, I don't know how to say her name exactly, but she's in this first segment. She is the former owner, and she tells a story about how the Motor Hotel became the Motel Inn, and it all had to do with the sign, right?
Yeah. Well, the funny part of this is Huell's not buying it.
No.
He grills her on it.
Yeah, and she had names and dates of when this was happening, because her story is that the sign blew down, and there's the Depression, and things were expensive, so they shortened up the letters.
Yeah, they couldn't afford 2.5 letters.
Yeah, because from Motor Hotel to Mo-Tel. And she
Yeah.
gives the sign painter the credit for that. And, yeah, Huell wasn't into it. But she staked her life on it, in fact, at his behest. And after Betty, we see Mark Hall Patton, who is a county historical museum member or spokesperson. And Mark actually has a pretty good look to him, too. He has a look that I think my grandpa kind of had this look. It's this like short sleeve button up shirt, and he's got like the sunglasses holder tucked in the breast pocket, and it's this open topped. Have you seen these kind of glasses holders before?
Oh yeah,
this was a look back then,
yeah,
right?
no, my dad. Well, up until a few years ago, he wore he had that in his pocket.
Yeah,
He wore his giant glasses he'd put on. Oh yeah.
yeah. In fact, this is the look that I got to say, I think Huell was like looking out for guys with this look, because I've been watching a lot of episodes lately, and there are a lot of guys that kind of have this look. Do you remember people looking like this?
I have not seen nearly as many episodes as you have, so I don't remember that, but maybe those were the guys who really wanted to talk to Huell and had a lot of information.
These were sort of like the guys when I was taking my machining courses. They would be on the training videos that were 10 years too old.
Okay.
To be relevant for the course. But that's, yeah. I mean, my dad did have this set up, so I remember it pretty.
We'll have to throw a picture
Clearly.
up of the glasses holder that we're talking about, because this is a specific look that's ingrained in my memory that I've since noticed numerous guys having. But after Mark, we hear from Dan Krieger. And I really like his voice. He had a really kind of storyteller type voice to him. And he points out that the Motel Inn at one time was painted pink as a way to stand out on the highway, because it was on Highway 1 prior to it being 101. And it's kind of, he's a historian, so it's kind of like that kind of historian type way of fancifully telling a story. And because there's another pretty famous hotel in the San Luis Obispo area called the Madonna Inn,
which we're very fond of.
Quite. In fact, we went there on our honeymoon, right?
We did. We stayed in the hideaway room.
That was my choice because it had the rock shower. I was really into the rock shower.
It was a mutual choice.
Okay, well, I like the rock shower and the heated toilet seat and the bidet.
Bidet, yeah. On my wife's birthday, we went to the Madonna Inn, and, well, we wanted to get the pink glitter room.
Yeah.
But we ended up settling for this midnight blue, navy blue, had a 8-foot round bed. But it came with the bidet. I think that's a standard feature on all the rooms.
You had the round bed route. I remember. That was good.
It's a trippy
Yeah.
feeling, yeah. Although we were woken up in the middle of the night with this crazy knocking noise. But other than that.
We were woken up too. Well, there was some problem. What was that?
Well, we liked our room, but there was a leak in it. It was rainy because we got married in October of 2016, and it was raining when we got there, so we had a bit of a leak.
I mean, I guess you can't expect anything different from the rock room. It was like a cave. It was like a nice dripping water cave ambiance to it. Yeah. But Dan here, he mentions that the Madonna Inn was the Pink Palace of San Luis Obispo, and it's just funny that there is this quite pinkish hotel, Madonna Inn now, and that the Motel Inn back in the 20s and 30s had pink paint on it as well. And he even points out part of the paint that's been kind of chipped away and that the pink is underneath, which the paint chipping away is kind of telling of what was going on at the hotel then, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then we hear from Al Peterson, who kind of gives a foreshadow of things to come with the hotel.
Yeah.
Doesn't he mention something along the lines of, well, it was the world's first motel, and it looks like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of along
he didn't
those
seem
lines.
all that excited about having to fix things up for this motel.
No, and
back
even this,
in the
like,
day.
the shot where Louis panning across, it's not impressive.
No.
No.
I mean, it looks like it would be fun to visit back then, but
Well, these were one of the advertisements they show, or that was shown on the screen. They advertise these as fireproof bungalows. That was an interesting feature to even have to advertise, but
the fact that he was so unwilling, it seems, to fix things up then is a bit fortuitous to the current state of the place, the non-existent state of this. It was fun. I know I look sad in the pictures, but anytime I go to a place where that has been a subject in one of these episodes, it's always fun because it's like going to a movie set or something. It's like seeing something in real life.
Right, yeah, I think it's a historical site, so it's not going to look the same way it did in the 90s or when it was originally founded. So I think we maybe should have had our expectations set a little bit different.
Well, I knew that it was definitely less than it used to be, but driving up and seeing dirt lots, it was shocking.
So are we going to talk about Huell's arms?
How could we
his
not?
polo?
How could we not?
He was very proud of his arms, so.
Louis mentions that in the book, doesn't he? That a lot of times he would have kind of a...
He has that nice right 90-degree sort of flexing
Yeah.
motion going on.
He'd always have a profile shot of himself.
Yeah, I haven't read the book, but I did notice that in some of the episodes that Chris and I have watched that, you know, his shirts definitely show off his arms and he's got the right angles going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He was definitely proud of those biceps. And why shouldn't he be?
So upon leaving the world's first motel, Huell and Louis head east to Pozo to go to the Pozo Salloon.
And let's hear how that went.
Welcome to downtown Pozo, California, site of the Pozo Salloon. Now this sign up here says saloon, but it wasn't originally a saloon, was it?
No, this was a dance hall and part of the old hotel as well.
There were once plenty of saloons in Pozo.
Oh, yes.
There was a population of at least 1,000 people here at one time.
Right here?
Right here in this little area. Most of the homes are gone. We could actually draw you a map showing hundreds of homes in this whole area. There was a gold rush right next door. As we go up over these mountains here, we go into a real rugged corridor of mountains before you come down into the high Carrizo Plains where the mysterious Indian rock is. But as you go through those mountains, you're going through a gold rush area. And in the 1880s, there were over 1,500 miners up here. This was their watering hole. This is where they came to drink and make merry.
So all of the miners are gone, but the saloon is still here.
The saloon's still here.
So, Chris, is the saloon still open?
Well, I've been doing some research on that, and at first I thought not. I thought it was closed down. I saw on, I think, Yelp that it said it was permanently closed. But now I've looked just this like a couple days ago, and it says that it's open on weekends now.
Okay.
And it's been like a concert venue more recently, like a outdoor big concert venue.
Didn't it host the wonderful 2017 420 Fest?
That's what I heard, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we missed that
Things got
one.
a little crazy.
Yeah.
It got shut down, so it was in the news recently, but
it seemed like it was quite a interesting place back then too. I believe that Mark Hall Patton of the County Historical Museum and Dan Krieger from the segment prior seemed to, because they're with Huell on this segment as well, and it looks like, because they're all wearing the same thing, it looks like they just snagged Huell up and said, let's go to Pozo.
Hey, we got some serious insider information, so.
And Dan is got some good storytelling.
Yeah, I think it's Dan that talks about it, but the mysterious Indian rock.
Yeah, he references that, but he just kind of throws it out there as being a thing over in the Carrizo Plain, which I've been going ahead in these episodes, and Huell goes to the Carrizo Plain and sees the mysterious painted rock. And that actually looks really cool. That's nearby us, too. That's in Kern County, so I think we need to head over there before we get to that episode.
Yeah,
and
I think so, too.
Get a look-see.
Okay, so by far my favorite part of the episode, or this segment, I should say, is when Huell talks to these aptly dressed road bikers.
Yeah, they're bicyclists.
Yeah, let's call them that. Let's go road bicyclists. That's a better way to put it.
Because they have like that kind of like, I don't want to call it leotard.
The tight stuff.
Yeah.
They're wearing the uniform. So
yeah,
my favorite is when Huell goes to talk to them, and a helicopter had just landed, and Huell has no interest in talking to these bicyclists anymore.
No.
And he's looking towards the helicopter, and one of the guys says, "That's how the rich bikies get here. They just heli in."
Did you notice that the guy getting out of the helicopter, he's just wearing sweatpants too?
Yeah, he looks relaxed.
Just a relaxed little heli over to the Pozo.
Well, the trippy part too is there's absolutely no fear of getting any part of their body chopped off by the blades.
No.
Usually in movies, and I'm just thinking of one movie right now, let's say Three Ninjas, right? Where they hop out of the helicopter, they duck, and it's a whole thing.
Even though no helicopter is low enough to ever chop a head off, people in every movie and TV show I've seen do the duck. This guy in his teal sweatpants, head held high.
Does not care.
No. Well, my favorite part of this episode actually comes right after that, because the helicopter lands, we cut back into the restaurant, and there's a group of guys just hanging out, and there's a place setting with a basket of food, a burger sitting there, and Huell asks who that's for, and they said, "Oh, that's for Bert, the dog. It's his birthday." And Huell just when he really can't believe something is true, he really asks.
Yeah, he puts an emphasis on it.
Yeah, and he says, serious as a heart attack. It's Bert's birthday. That's his burger.
He takes him outside, and Bert is standing on the top of his toolbox.
Yeah, the toolbox on the back of the bed of the truck. And if you notice, Bert takes the burger and eats it in one big bite. Just like a dog would. Just down.
Oh, man.
So Pozo's definitely a fun segment. It's pretty short, and there's not a lot going on, but it definitely is more of the style of California's Gold that you see later on, of Huell just kind of talking to people and asking them those simple questions. And so we've been to a lot of places in the Central Valley, a lot of places that Huell even goes to in later episodes. He seems to really like this area of California. He goes there a lot, but we haven't been to Pozo.
Mm-mm.
And Aaron, do you think we should be going to Pozo?
Of course, yeah.
Well, there's one thing to see.
Yeah, the whole place is the saloon.
And I believe, isn't Rhonda Beanway? She's still the owner, right?
I'm not sure if she's still the owner. She is in the 90s when Huell's here.
If I remember right, I think when I was reading about the festival or the incident at the festival, I think that she issued some sort of statement. So maybe
she's still the owner.
It's pretty cool.
Well, Huell doesn't last long in Pozo. It's an interesting little mining town, but he's actually back towards the coast near Pismo to go to the Oceano Dunes. And let's hear why he's going there.
When you first see them, you're overwhelmed by their size and their beauty. These huge sand dunes which go on for miles up and down the Central Coast. Now these are part of the Oceano Pismo Dunes, located about 15 miles south of San Luis Obispo. I was brought here by Norm Hammond, a local resident who's done a lot of research on a group of people who over 60 years ago used to live in these dunes. They call themselves Dunites, and they actually built little shacks and cabins right out in the dunes and call this place home. They were artists and writers and poets. Some of them were mystics, and some were people who today we'd call hippies. During the 1930s, they were in their heyday when Gavin Arthur, grandson of former U.S. President Chester Arthur, moved here, built a little community called Motel, and started publishing a literary magazine called the Dune Forum, which contained all sorts of writings and poetry inspired by the dunes.
The trippiest part of the Dune segment to me, or the segment about the Dunites. Dunites?
I don't know.
Let's go Dunites. That flows a little better.
Because they're not duns. They're not sand duns.
Well, they are done.
They're done. But are they? Because they move constantly. They're never done.
Well, Elwood was the last.
Oh, the dun. They're
done.
Get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The trippiest part about the dunes, or the city that was located in parts of the dunes, is that there's no trace of it. Which is they could be making this up for all we know, which is kind of funny. I mean, I guess Moimel, the sign, is kind of giving it away, but
Norm Hammond, who's kind of the guy who put this whole segment together for Huell,
which is the resident historian.
Yeah.
Okay.
He seems to have a lot of information and pictures, and he's got one of those original Dune Forum. It's like a zine, actually.
Yeah, like a zine, little journal.
Yeah. So it seemed like quite an interesting place. And if any of you have ever been to the Oceano Pismo Dune area, it's a desolate place.
Yeah. I've camped there twice, and there's not much you really can do there except for ride off-roading vehicles.
Which we see later on. But Norm actually brings out Elwood Decker, and He's quite a character. He looks like the kind of guy I would imagine a dune dweller to look like. Decker, the dune dweller.
Which we learned from this episode that he is the last living Dunite. Let's go with Dunite.
Okay, that's what it is.
But after this episode, unfortunately, he met his end in 1992. It's kind of a sad situation. He actually got hit by a freight train.
Yeah.
Walking on the train tracks. Which is, that's a sad thing. So sorry to relay the bad news there, but
it was nice that he got to be in this show right before that and tell his story, since he was the last living one, Dunite. And because it's an interesting story, as you heard in the clip, it was kind of like I would say a hippie community in the dunes, kind of financed by Gavin Arthur, the grandson of Chester A. Arthur.
My favorite president.
Yeah. The one you know the most about, right? As we all do. But it's kind of an interesting thing that I'm assuming that since he's kind of financing this community, that there was some money in the family and that he was not really, this is all conjecture, that he probably wasn't, maybe he was the black sheep of the Arthur family and he was into the arts and alternate styles of living, and that's why he created Moymel. What does that mean again?
Moymel. Well, old Elwood tells us that Moymel is Gaelic for honey sweet plain, which has a nice pastoral ring to it.
And when you think about the dunes, you don't really think about a honey sweet plain. No. It's just sand. But the pictures that they show, there's a lot of greenery going on.
It's almost
there.
like grass. And he makes an interesting point that, well, one of the things that I was curious about was, how do you get water out here? I know you're by the ocean, sure. But he mentions that you could dig 4 or 5 feet deep and you can find fresh water. And there's also, we figure out later, there are lakes also in the dunes, which I had no idea. I thought it was just a desolate, these desolate dunes next to the ocean.
Well, when he mentions that, I thought about, because this area, the dunes, is parallel to Pismo Beach State Park, which I've camped at around that area many times growing up. And the campground that I would stay at was the North Beach campground. And any time that it would rain, most of the time, especially fall, winter time, it would flood very quickly and over almost the whole campground. So the water table must be really high there, because what did he say, like 3 to 5 feet of digging, and you would hit fresh water. So it makes sense.
So Elwood was also an interesting guy, and anyone that's curious to see his art or poetry, you can just really go to www.elwooddecker.com. It's that easy. Someone made a website for him.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That'll be linked in our show notes page too. So
sure. He definitely had a interesting outlook on life and way of kind of seeing things. And my favorite description of the life in Moymel was, it was like living in endless time, which, depending on your point of view, is either a really good thing or a really bad thing. Because if you're living in endless time, that could feel like an eternity. You'd think living in this sandy, desolate area, you wouldn't want to be there for eternity. But he seems to mean it in a really positive sense.
Mm-hmm. So I would say my favorite part of this segment, which I guess if we're doing favorite parts, it's going to be when, these worlds collide between Elwood, or I guess, and, Huell and Louie, everyone there, and these dirt bikers, which really it's between Elwood and the dirt bikers that is the most interesting. And
he even waves them down. Like, they go past, and he waves them back over.
Gives them like a nice, it's not even, it's just a nice smooth wave. It's not even panicked at all. It's not panicked, but it's not aggressive in any way. It's very just everything he does. So Huell tries to get an interaction going between these two peoples, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
And my favorite part is Huell kind of says, "Oh, what would you say if you saw these people?" He said, "I think they're from Mars."
This is Elwood saying this?
Yeah, Elwood.
Okay.
And, because they have funny-looking masks. And these guys seem like, they want to be in on it, too.
Yeah.
But their faces are obviously covered.
Yeah, because they have the helmets on.
So what do? You look at each other, and you slap a nice high five.
Yeah. They were into being considered so opposite of Elwood that they would seem from Mars. They're into it. So these early days, Huell definitely has a great wardrobe going on. He's got this like turquoise shirt and a khaki look. It's almost like it's a little preppy.
Yeah.
But I like it. Definitely fits him well of the time. So this was definitely a interesting thing that existed in the Oceano area that I had never heard of.
Mm-mm.
So Norm Hammond, he seems to really be the voice of the Dunites because he wrote a book about it, which unfortunately I found it. Fortunately, I found it. Unfortunately, it's not going to get here in time for this recording that we're doing, but maybe I'll do an update if I read anything about the Dunites that seems extra interesting on
Maybe
top
we'll do
of
a blog
Elwood's
post or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. But this episode, another 3-segment episode, which these first few shows and seasons have a lot more packed into each episode, which is fun, but it does make for a...
Yeah, it's fun. It's also cool because you get to see Huell really experimenting
Yeah.
with what he's doing. Because, he's not totally confident. Like, maybe what Louis was saying is, he's still trying to figure it out, too. And he's a pro for sure. But...
I mean, these are tight, concise segments, but they're definitely a lot more going on in these than in later, like, mid-2000s era where he's just
like
going to a single place.
Single deal, yeah, 30 minutes long.
But it's still fun, and the Central Coast is definitely one of our favorite places. Aaron, are we going there anytime soon?
I think that we are going there in March, actually.
For someone's birthday, right?
My birthday.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to Cayucas, which there's a couple Huell spots over there that we'll have to hit up if we're allowed to on your birthday trip.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can because there on the Chapman website there's the interactive Huell Hauser map where you see everywhere he went, and whenever we go on trips, I always reference that because if we can pop into a Huell location, it's always worthwhile, I think.
It is.
So we'll be hitting that place up in March, and hopefully you'll be hearing about some of the adventures that we go on. But this adventure is about to come to a close.
A very smooth close.
Quite smooth. This episode ends with the music of Charles Daniel, who is a saxophonist from Cuesta College, which is the community college in the San Luis Obispo area. I think it's a feeder school for Cal Poly or something.
Yeah. So, I'm just a curious question. How do you think he finds these people?
We speculate about that a lot. Who's doing this research, finding these musicians? We had Bob and Wendy at the beginning. Again, don't know their last name.
See, but with Bob and Wendy, this is the thing, is that, they may have just been sitting on the steps.
Could be, yeah.
Strumming their stringed instruments.
Exactly.
And this, what was his name again?
Charles Daniel.
Charles. So Charles is out here on the dunes. Maybe in the middle of the dunes, I don't know. But he's just playing the saxophone out there. It's a conscious effort to go get Charles.
Yeah.
Bring him to the dunes and have him play some smooth.
And was he along for the whole ride of the Dunite experience and just not on camera? Because
maybe they were eating at, I don't know, a restaurant. They said, man, I really wish we had a saxophone player.
Maybe
play our outro. And the guy was sitting at the table next to him and said, hey, I play saxophone.
There could have been a Splash Cafe run-in where Charles was there and just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And he's pretty good. I like this.
Oh, yeah. It's one of my favorites.
So we're going to play that smooth sax sound at the end of this episode because it's just too good not to hear. Mm-hmm. But
well, that's about it.
That's it for this week. But we have to thank our first guest in the show's history, my wife, Erin.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Took some talking to get you to do this, but I'm glad you did it.
Just a little bit of coercion, but...
Yeah. Yeah. But thanks, everyone, for listening, and we hope that you come along with us next time as we continue our search for Huell's Gold.
Hello, this is Huell's Gold with Alan and Chris can't please me.